This presentation is on empowering your end user with nice ELAN OS. In doing this presentation, we realized once we hit about 100 slides that there's no way to present this in an hour. So we've had to break it up into two parts. So first part is going to be this month. Next part will be next month. So we will do this at the end of June, 1st of July, and catch part two. Obviously, these are being recorded, so you can always catch them on Management Cloud or on the YouTube channel. So, who we have here today? I am your host, Jeremy Klutz, Senior RTS for the West. Co-hosting is Eric Hill, Senior RTS for the East.
Good morning.
And your chat bots, these are the guys that are in the chat and the Q&A, Chad Evans and Bryce Edwards, your other two RTSs. So, that being said, if you want, please use the Q&A instead of the chat. When you do the Q&A, it allows us to answer questions directly underneath the question instead of just putting them in the chat. That way they actually get attached to the actual question. All right. What to expect for this webinar? We're going to be covering part one this time. So we're going to do some really quick basics and start in UI configuration. Then we'll hit scenes and scheduling and routines. Then next month, we'll hit surveillance options and configuration, user management, and remote system configuration. What we are not going to cover on this webinar, troubleshooting system-specific problems, please contact tech support or your RTS. We don't want to go down long rabbit holes of trying to troubleshoot your system on this call. That's not what this is designed for. This is designed to go over the nice user interface so we can help you empower your user. All right. That being said, let's start with UI configuration. Well, if we start talking about UI configuration, the first thing we have to talk about is user profile extension class. So with 9.0, we have expanded and given you actually 4 different classes. 3 you see here, the admin that you're used to, a standard user, and then a guest user. The guest user cannot get into basic or advanced settings. A standard user can get into those settings, but cannot access admin level stuff. For example, if you have a standard user trying to add a mobile device, they can add a standard user. They cannot add an admin user. Admin level preventions give you full access to everything. Advanced settings does not require entering a passcode with an admin user logged in as an admin on a viewer. All right, that being said, a management cloud login is different than an admin user and will always require the 4-digit access code to get to advanced settings. All right, next, remote access. You can decide what kind of remote access the user has. Guest user is really designed for that Airbnb type application where they can give them guest access locally only and have no remote access, or give them viewer access remotely. Standard user could be your homeowner or could be a secondary user in the house. Admin comes down to whether you're going to be the admin as the dealer or the client is going to end up being the admin, and give different levels of permissions. We've all had those clients that we would give admin access, and we've all had those clients that we really don't want to give beyond guest access because we know they're going to screw something up. That being said, I want to talk about the next part here. Management Cloud access. That is your 4th class. When you log into Management Cloud and set up a location, you will use an admin password to verify that location. Once that admin password is used, Management Cloud will create its own encrypted, non-viewable password. that is hidden in the back. That way, if the admin password gets changed, Management Cloud Access still has access. To get rid of Management Cloud Access, you would literally have to just go in there and delete the user. All right. Usually that comes up with some questions, and we'll have some questions towards the end of each section. So, basic settings. You can see that you have the little keypad up in the top. Prior to 9.0, whenever you'd hit it, it would swipe to the right, and then you'd hit it again, and it'd swipe to the right if you entered it correctly. Now, if you hit it, it swipes back whether you hit it correctly or not. If you hit it correctly, the list of options will expand. So if you go in here and hit the default code of 1234, highly recommend changing that default code. If you do not change that default code and there are touchscreens in the house, anybody can come in and get in there and take over the system if they need to. So in advanced settings, you do have system access, which you can then hit system access, and then you can hit the change settings password, and it will force you to type in a 4-digit code twice. So that becomes the new settings passcode. Once the passcode has been changed, there may be a way, if you still have config access for tech support or your RTS, to clear it. But in most cases, it does require the password reset form. Said password reset form is not a 5-minute process. Sometimes could take a couple days, because the password reset form does require homeowner's signature, dealer's signature sent to the RSM for approval, and then we will need ports forwarded to the controller for 2198 and 2199, and then we will also need the WAN IP so that tech support could log in remotely and clear the passwords. All right, next thing up in UI configuration is configuring this station. We can go in and select the theme. If you look at the basic setup for settings or advanced settings, there are different options. If you look at configure this station under basic, all you have is select theme. Under advanced, you can register the theme and do some more features. And when you select a theme, basic, you can only apply it to that user interface itself. If you are in the advanced settings, you can actually apply all. This helps when you have 15 to 20 touchscreens around the house and you want to set them all the same. Gives you the ability to apply all. So let's look at some of the themes. Now, these are the premium themes that were started. 3 of these came in 8.9. The other 2 came in 9.0. I highly recommend looking at using these themes for a couple of issues. If you are doing NVR, on the next presentation, you will see the change in how NVR gives you motion events. So on the old vintage themes, it'd give you a list down the side of all of your events, where if you're using a premium theme, it gives you a checkerboard across the screen and shows you more at the same time. Also, with the premium themes, if the touchscreen is assigned a location, down at the bottom where you see this home logo to get to the home page, will populate any of the other quick launch tabs for that location. For example, if you have lighting in that location, it will add a light bulb. If you have shades, it'll add a shade. If you have media, it'll add a media icon. If you have climate, it'll add a climate icon. And then you can also do with routines, add a star button to trigger events from routines. That is only available on the premium themes. Okay. Now, if you like the older themes, they're still here. They are considered what's now called vintage. Here's all 30 of them that are currently available. They all look very, very similar, but they are still available for your end user. highly recommend the premium themes. They just look a little bit better and give you a little more advanced functions. All right, so with that being said, we need to talk about the next thing. The next thing that comes into play, I just mentioned it a while ago, is when we start talking about area-based. So we started this with area-based lighting to help you program lighting so you didn't have to do a crap load of custom pages that would take hours and hours to make all these custom pages. Now you basically go in and set up your locations for your lighting loads, tell it what type of lighting load it is, whether it's a light, a shade, a fan, or other, and you can actually populate your lighting quickly and efficiently by just assigning locations. Now we've expanded this for Milo purposes, so you can now assign locations to climate, media, and your actual user interfaces themselves. So that makes Milo understand where the devices are located. So if you have a kitchen, you have a touchscreen in the kitchen, and you have your lighting loads assigned to the kitchen, you can ask Milo to turn on the lights. You don't have to say turn on the kitchen lights because it already knows you're in the kitchen. Or if you want to play a favorite for music from an autonomic, you can just say play, Led Zeppelin, and it'll start playing in the kitchen because it knows it's in the kitchen. So let's take a look at that. Once we start tying in location, you can actually change the way it's viewed in Configurator. So you can actually group it by location to see what's in each location. Once this is all said and done, it will automatically populate some lighting for you. Now you just have to assign what lighting you want on each interface. I like to use the interface grouping, the tabs up here at the top for main, upstairs, outdoor, and I've got my shop on there as well. And it'll bring in the rooms. For example, this is my daughter's room. And you have a power on and off button, and you have a slider, and then you have the ability to control color. If you click on the name of the room, it will expand and give you all of the lighting loads in there. So you can actually go in and independently turn on those lights, do whatever's needed there. But you can also use the star to set up scenes. So if we press and hold on the on button, which most people did not know this feature exists, it will bring up area control. What do you want that room header to do for you? For example, this is my daughter's room. So that on-off button, when she hits the on, will only turn on the light. That's the light on her ceiling fan. If she turns it off, it'll turn off the light, and it will turn off her closet as well. You know how kids are, they don't ever want to turn off lights. It does not affect the lamp at all. Level control, if she grabs that main level slider, will only control the light on the ceiling fan. Okay? This way, if she does on and off, she can hit the off, it'll turn off her closet, it'll turn off the ceiling fan light, but her lamp is unaffected. That way she can get in bed and she's got lamp control close to her. Okay? That covers our basic UI starting point. Gentlemen, do we have any questions yet?
Yeah, where can we get the password reset form?
Contact your RSM or your RTS, or tech support will have that and email that out to you. It may also be on the help site. I have not checked that. I'll put that email, that website will be up in a little bit at the end of this presentation. Any other questions?
Are there specific themes that need to be used with the new NVR functions?
Yes, that would be the premium themes. The premium themes will give you the checkerboard. Unfortunately, I don't have that in this part of the section. It'll be in next month's section where we show that checkerboard. Just makes it much easier and gives you more of those NVR motion events on one screen as opposed to like 3 or 4 on the right side. Alrighty. Anything else?
Looks to be it for now.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump into scenes and scheduling. There's been a lot of changes with scenes and scheduling once we hit 9.0. If you hit that star button over to the side of where we were looking at for that main lighting header, it will bring up a list of scenes, and you have the ability to manage those scenes straight from lighting. Okay. And if you hit manage scenes, then it'll give you a plus option, a copy option, and a trash option. The key thing here with, obviously, trash is trash, but the copy option comes into play when you have a lot of RGB lighting loads, where let's say you have 4 or 5 RGB lighting loads in a theater, and you want to set up different colors, but you just need the same loads. You have the ability to copy and paste that scene over and over again, then just go in and modify the colors or the levels without having to recreate it from scratch. When you hit the plus icon, it will just add a new theme and then, new scene, and then you just go in and choose what lighting load you want and then set the levels. And those scenes can be room specific or global, depending on what loads you add to them. Under the lighting, it will only show the scenes that are applicable in that area if you check the star for that area. You can also access scenes from the settings page. So basic settings, advanced settings, you can get in here and see scenes. If you go in here, you'll see lighting scenes. It'll be just the same as it was before, but it's going to list all the scenes. So for example, here's that new Abigail's room, new scene that I created. And it's going to have the 3 lighting loads I added and give us the ability to set levels or check levels, change color, and there's a test button here. So a lot of times end users don't know what 75% dimmer means, but they know they want it a little bit brighter or a little bit darker. This gives you the ability to go in here and easily adjust those settings and then hit test to make sure it's right. All right. Next up is going to be lighting schedule. With 9.0, we changed the way lighting and climate schedules are added to interfaces. We gave you the ability to only put them on the interfaces you want. So for a lighting schedule or a climate schedule to show up in the viewer, you have to enable it per interface. Okay, so you may want the lighting schedule set up in the master suite, but you may not want it on the kitchen touchscreen or the guest room touchscreen. So once you do that, it will show up under lighting. You can see the little calendar up here at the top. It also shows up in advanced settings. And you can go in here and create all your schedules. These are scheduled events for lighting. So if you want to do landscape lighting on and off, it's great to have it in here. You have the ability to copy them and you have the ability to delete them in here. But if you hit the edit button, for example, here's my 8 a.m. every morning, turns on my wife's Scentsy wax melters. And then at about 5 or 9 p.m., depending on the room, it will turn them off as well. Just quick little access so you can go in here and turn it on. You have the ability to test these. By default, when you add the lighting loads, they should be on. So if you need to do an off, you'll just have to go through and turn all the lighting loads off. If you go to viewer settings, you can see that they're under scenes and schedules as well. Okay. And if we go to climate, same thing, same location. If you go into that interface and look at layout climate, it's going to give you the ability to add the schedule. Okay. That will give you the ability to have the schedule in between status and history in the viewer, and we'll also put it on the settings tab as well. Okay, so this is how it starts. Now, if you go in and add mode scheduling, you can actually go in there and set mode as well. So you have the ability to change it from auto to cool to heat to off. So you can set a mode. So in some areas of the US and there, you may need heat during the night, but nothing during the day, or you may need AC during the day and nothing at night. You can configure that and set that up in here. Okay. Next up, if you are using scheduling, I'm going to put this next slide up here, and I know somebody's going to say something, but default schedule does suck because it gives you in here at 9 a.m. a default schedule of 60 for heat and 85 degrees for cool. I'm sorry, if you're in the south part of the US, 85 degrees for cool is not going to cut it, especially in the summer. I'm in Texas, and 85 during the summer, it ain't going to cut it. So make sure you go in and modify your climate and set your points where they need to be. Okay? All right. Any questions there? Because that's a lot to cover pretty quick with scenes, lighting, and climate scheduling.
Are we able to use the pre-created lighting scenes in the schedules?
Yes, scenes can be pulled in from lighting control devices. So if you have a scene built into Lutron or Vantage and those scenes come into Configurator, you can trigger those scenes from a lighting schedule. And believe me, if you're trying to do 30 or 40 loads in a scene, it's best to have that scene tied in that lighting control platform and just recall it, instead of trying to send, 30, 40 on buttons at the same time. That really comes into play when you start talking shades. A lot of the RF shades, you have to create a channel for the group before you can send it. And
or something with RGB. Yeah, or something with RGB.
RGB,
then with the scene, we can absolutely set the scene with a color. You don't have to go and hunt for that specific load and that specific color. So create a scene with including the color that you want for your RGB, and then add that scene to your schedule.
Comes into play a lot with outdoor lighting as well. Any other questions? Alrighty, then we'll jump into routines. Routines is something we teased probably starting about 8 years ago at CEDIA, of giving end users or viewer access to event maps. Well, they've worked through it, and we came up with routines to try to make a more user-friendly version of event maps. Not all functions in here are the same as event maps. So event maps, you can do a heck of a lot more. We wanted to put the things in here that are easily set up, easily understood for an end user to make those events happen. With that, we have 3 sections, just like event maps, but we kind of changed the order. Because if you look at event maps, you have events, conditions, commands. Conditions aren't always used, so we put them at the bottom and left them off if not being needed. So the first thing is when this happens. So it doesn't say event, it says when this happens, to make it easier for an end user to understand. So once you go from when this happens, this should happen, which would be our command. So we've got our event, our command, and then the last section is under these conditions. This is broke up to give it the easiest way for most people to understand. Oh, double check. Sorry. All right, so when this happens, you have video camera events, security system events, mode change from system mode or button. Button is that idea of adding it to the bottom of the screen. You can add a star next to that home button on the premium themes and trigger that straight from the viewer. Timed based events and voice trigger events. The voice trigger events obviously require Milo. All right. And then we have what can happen. We have rich push notifications for mobile. That is actually sending a picture from a camera to the mobile. You are limited to 325 of those a month. Please keep that in mind. If you have it set to a camera that has full view of trees blowing in the wind, you may want to limit the area for the events and may want to limit it from motion to person or vehicle. Those same notifications can be sent to a local ITP. So local, you can send those screenshots all you want. There is no limit on those monthly because it's not going outside the house. One of my favorites here is whenever you've got security contact, you can send push notifications with Milo. The old, everybody loved the old security panels that would tell you which door was open. That can be done here. Lighting on, off, area, load, scene, set, load, level can be done. Media zone, I already mentioned playing a favorite using autonomics. Turn off media zone. So if you wanted to turn off something, they wanted it to turn off every night at midnight just to make sure. That can be put in here as well. Security panel, you can do arm partition, lock a door, or open and close a door. The open and close is for a garage door or gate. You can change system mode. You can do a delay. And then on the cameras, you can play a sound, flash the lights. This is obviously the new cameras. Play a custom message with Milo, turn on and off privacy mask. And you can go in and set a preset on the new PTZ or start a patrol. And I'm going in here and I swear I turned off my mic for Milo. So yeah, touchscreen on my desktop just popped up what I said, the M word. So anybody got a touchscreen local might want to go into the touchscreen and mute Milo for a minute. And then we have our under conditions. This is where we can actually give some real power to the end user. You can do time filter. So you've got time range, days of the week, calendar date. This is what's taking the place of the old school alarm we had in there. So you could actually do events off of a day of the year. So birthday, anniversary, stuff like that. Calendar range. So if somebody wants something to be triggered only during the summer, or if they want it triggered, let's say they want to turn on holiday lights and they want to put it in a calendar range, you can do that here as well. System mode, you can have it where it's looking at the system mode, if it's home or away. And then you can look at media state. You can have it play favorite, but not if the media zone's already in use. All right. So let's take a look at some of these. Image push on security camera event or camera event. So with 9.0 under security, we gave you the option to add a camera to each security contact. So if you have a front door security sensor, you can tie a front door camera to that security sensor. Then you can do a routine push event. So when the front door is opened, it sends a push notification with a screenshot from that camera. It can also state front door is open if you have Milo. Then you can also do the same thing with a camera event. So if it sees person, vehicle, tripwire, or area triggered, you can also send those push notifications as well. And as you see here, we can do a full screen or a small screen screenshot to all the touch screens. So here's that announcement I was talking about. Security zone vaulted. You can set it up. Front door is open. This comes into play a lot for homeowners with small childs and a pool in the backyard. They like to know that that back door opened, that it goes to the pool area. And anybody that had an HAI security panel in the past, or one of those that spoke the doors open instead of just beeping when a door was open. All right. If we look at the new camera options, we have the ability to play the sound, flash the lights. On the 4 megapixel, it is a white flashing light. On the 8 megapixel, it is a color red and blue flashing light. The custom message, I love this one because when I first got one of our new cameras, I set it up on the end of the house. And after sunset, it says, "Smile, you're being recorded," anytime it sees a person or vehicle.
With colorful commentary included.
Yes. Yes. You can do privacy mask on and off. And you can go to preset, or, for example, if it sees motion, it can jump to a preset specific on the PTZ. Also, you can stop, patrol, or scan if it sees motion. Okay. Here's where it shows that star button at the bottom being added next to the home page. So you can add a button to trigger an action without it being routine driven. Now everybody goes, routines are great.
Hey, Jeremy, hang on. Can you go back 2 slides for me? That one's fine. So real quick, on the rich notifications that come in on a viewer on a phone, there's a really cool feature there where you get that banner up at the top and it shows you a little thumbnail. What's really cool about it is if you press it once, it's going to open up the app directly and go directly to the camera so you can see it in full view. Or if you press and hold the image on that notification, it's going to blow it up about half size so you can actually see what that thumbnail is. And then you can either ignore it or go into the app. But I just wanted to add that little feature that we added in.
Yeah, thank you. So on routines, we all have those clients that would be great with handling routines, and we all have those clients that would screw this up so bad it's not funny and cause so many service calls you don't want it. So this is where you can take and remove routines from a standard user and limit to admin only. Okay. So with that ends this section. Any questions on routines?
How do the dealers access routines that the homeowner might have created?
That's created through the viewer. You can look at them through the viewer. All routines will be shown in the viewer.
So when they're setting up access, they want to make sure that they are giving themselves viewer access to troubleshoot routines.
Correct.
If they're enabling them.
Yeah, if you've got to troubleshoot routines, you must have viewer access. They do not populate under event maps. It has been a feature request to populate routines in config so you could actually see what's in the routines without having to go into a viewer, but we are not there yet. Any other questions?
I wanted to add in routines when you're selecting media as an option of what should happen, or when this happens. In media, when you go to favorites, those favorites are anything that's available that you've posted in the favorites section. So if you look at sources on a zone, at the top, you're going to have sources, you're going to have favorites, and if you use our UIX, you'll have cameras. So under that favorites tab, whether that content comes from like a cable box or a Roku or your autonomic or a Helios, whatever favorites in there, you have access to in that routine. So you could play like a television station, you could play a favorite on the TV, or you could play any music source favorite as well.
Mm-hmm. As well as any of your autonomic save favorites will also pop up as well.
Is there a limit to the number of the image notifications between touch panels or like cell phone devices?
Well, cell phones is limited to 325 a month. Local viewer, there is no limit. So you can send as many notifications as you want internally. I like that security contact one and showing a picture that lets you know that somebody's opened that door or, opened a window. Anybody's got teenage kids that like to open windows. If you have a camera that can see it, hey, push a notification off that for window open and somebody's going in and out. Any other questions?
Can any user make changes to routines on the system?
Any standard user, if you have not locked them out, that's that admin checkbox for routines. Admins can always modify routines. Guests do not have access.
And to add on to that, there is a little lock slider when you create the routine. And if you lock that, then a different user cannot make any changes to that routine.
Unless they're an admin.
Correct.
All right. Any
And
other questions? Yeah.
I believe in the next section we're talking about facial recognition in users at that point, aren't we? We'll
that'll
add it
be
in.
next month.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Next month. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I meant by that and saying that is that your routines can be locked out simply by facial recognition, because if it doesn't recognize the person, it'll be in guest mode. But if you walk up to it as an admin, it recognizes you and unlocks it.
All righty. Any other questions? Then I'm going to jump to the two last slides here. For those that were on the old forum, we did create a new forum. Here is the forum access. It's forum.elanportal.com. For the new forum, they did pull in all the documentation and everything from the old forum. I do give you warning, some of the posts from the old forum are still in the old font, so they may not populate correctly. We're having to manually go through and edit every freaking post that was made to fix that up, so it does take some time. But there is a forum, as opposed to using the Facebook forums, but there is a forum. There's quite a bit of documentation in there, and you can go in and check for different features. As you can see, there are some things locked to the top here for status updates, or if you're running into a problem, it's a good place to start. And that brings us to the next website, which is help.elanportal.com. There are tech alerts posted here, and there is a knowledge base. All our video notes are posted here. There is a report form for bug reporting. Keep in mind, if you are going to report a bug, you better document the heck out of it. Don't just type up something saying, hey, it's broke. You need to fix it. You will get an email back basically going, hey, you might want to elaborate on this. We have had quite a few people post in there. The devil is in the details there. So if you are reporting a bug in there and you want to report it, you better have it documented. Okay, give us every little bit of information to help us find it, because we have to duplicate it for us to be able to repair it. All righty, and if we have no other questions, thank y'all for attending.